All right, welcome back to the XL College Football Drive at 5. This is Chuck Ferguson along with my co-host, Will Nobles. We got Kim Parks in the studio running the boards, and we have Chaz Ferguson on the phone in Tallahassee. Chaz, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing good, man. We're going to have a little recap today of the national championship game, if it was really a game, and then we'll talk about transfer portal stuff, and then we'll look ahead to 2023 football season, and then we'll do some predictions for the Power 5 conference championships. If we get a time, we may even try to dabble a little bit into the Group of 5. At this point, it's really going to be kind of shots in the dark with all the transfer portal stuff going on. We don't know what these teams are going to look like come August or September. So, Will, how you doing today?
Doing great. How are you?
Doing good. Man, what a game! You know, yeah, Chaz texted us, or he texted me and said, "Man, I was on the edge of my seat right up until the coin toss." Chaz, that was pretty good. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that wasn't a game at all.
So I can't hear him. Can you? I can't hear either one of these guys. We changed our studio around this week, and so we're trying to make sure that everything is done right. Chaz, can you hear me now, bud?
I can hear you.
Okay.
I'm having trouble hearing Will.
Yeah. Let's see, maybe turn some volumes up or something. Yeah, Ken and I on here taking everything apart, putting them back together. So Ken knows all about this stuff. I don't. Man, hey, the game the other night, guys. Georgia it wasn't even close. I mean, I guess the closest part of that game was the coin toss, like Chaz said, and 65-7 is a definite statement. I hear a lot of people talking about they didn't think that TCU deserved to be there. I think that's hogwash. They absolutely deserve to be there. They beat Michigan in a playoff game. Had this been a semifinal game, I could see people probably saying, somebody else, maybe Tennessee. I don't think Alabama should have been in over Tennessee, to be completely honest with you. Alabama did play good in the Sugar Bowl, give them that. But, man, Tennessee played great in the Orange Bowl. Will, what do you think about all that hoopla with Alabama claiming they should be in the tournament?
Well, I mean, if you're Alabama, you're going to claim you need to be in every single year. That's just kind of the culture they have there. No, but they've been great. They've been great for a long time. I do think they were a top 4 team this year, at least a top 5 team. A lot of what TCU experienced as far as success was in a lot of close games. They did have a lot of balls bounce their way. I said last week they were very fortunate against Michigan, and I stand by that. I think that held up Monday night. It's not that TCU's a bad team. I don't think they were a top 4 team. I mean, I don't know how, again, you can be number 3, lose, and not drop. But the people below them helped them out a lot. I don't believe USC should have been, and obviously we saw they struggled against Tulane.
No.
But I think Alabama has as good of a case as anybody. I think you could have had Alabama in there. You could have had Tennessee in there, and I don't think it would have been crazy. I mean, I was one advocating that Penn State's got a shot to get in there. So I don't think TCU was a bad football team. I think they were a good football team, a fortunate football team, and their luck finally ran out as soon as that game kicked off on Monday night.
Yeah, I think you're right. It reminded me a lot of the Michigan Georgia Orange Bowl last year, where those guys came out and from what I understand, some of the guys who were down on the field, I listened to this week on the podcast, they said that those guys were real loose on warm up and everything was great until they came out and they were on the field with Georgia and they saw how big and fast those guys were, and that's what Michigan said last year too, guys. That was that was the difference, and you see those guys that are big, Jordan Davis, how big that guy is and how fast and quick he is. I can understand, I mean, that's got to be intimidating. But one stat that I think it's not really a stat, it's just a fact about the personnel. When you have, I think it's over 80% of your stat, or 80% of your roster, 4 and 5 stars versus 23% of the TCU roster is 4 stars. I think they had only 1 5-star on the whole roster, and the only guy on there they really thought they could have started at Georgia was Quentin Johnson, and that was all we heard about all week. How great that guy was going to be, and man, he had 1 catch for 3 yards, And I was looking at some mock drafts today, and he's still showing as the number one wide receiver in the draft. And I'm not even in the mock draft I saw. I think it was Todd McShay's, which come on. Todd McShay's didn't even have Marvin Harrison Jr. in the first round. They had so I don't know. We'll see. Once the combine gets here, and there's a lot more to it than what those guys did, while they were in college. But Chaz, what do you, as far as the rosters go, and the way the game shook out, what do you think about that? I know that you didn't get a chance to see part of the first half or part of the first quarter, but I think you did get a chance to see most of the game, right?
Yeah, I was able to see second, third, and fourth quarters, and I was trouble hearing Will, so hopefully I don't sound like a broken record. But the wealth gap in their rosters and between TCU and Georgia was just so apparent. You see, I think TCU and Michigan had a similar roster, the same as Ohio State and Georgia, and you see how close both those games were. But when you match up two of those programs, unless it's Michigan and Ohio State, because rivalries are different, they do work differently. We all know that. But once you have that mismatch of rosters, especially when the game matters like this one did, especially to Georgia, you can see those blatantly apparent. And it was just too obvious. I mean, Georgia was a lawnmower and TCU was grass in that game. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't even funny.
And the idea. I'm sorry, Chaz, I cut you off. Keep going.
No, you go ahead. No,
I was going to say, when we talk about, the Alabama, claim they should have been in there, and maybe they were a top 4 team at the end of the season, but when you go back, after the season is one thing, but once you're in that situation where those guys are got to pick, before the playoffs start, they got to pick the 4 top teams in the nation at that point. The biggest thing I could see is maybe they should have flipped Ohio State and TCU in 3 and 4, and you probably would have had the same exact games in reverse. So, I think that if Ohio State plays Michigan again, I mean they're going to thump them. I think, and then you may get a final with Georgia and Ohio State, and who knows? That might have been a different game when they. But I'm gonna tell you something. Anybody can say what they want to, but that Georgia team that played Monday night, man, they could have beat anybody in college football.
I think so too. I think they could have beaten They could beat anybody in the past several years. I think that was just an unstoppable force.
Yeah, that one game. What do you think about that? Will, you agree with that?
With what exactly?
With the premise that Georgia could have played anybody in the nation in that game, and they would have thumped them pretty hard.
Oh, I think so. I mean, I think we saw that with them beating Ohio State, which again was a close game.
Yeah.
But I mean that was a lot going wrong for Georgia and a lot going right for Ohio State.
Yeah.
But not to disparage who they are and what they've done. They're a great football team. But yeah, the way Georgia played last night, it didn't matter who showed up on that field. I think the outcome was going to be similar.
Yeah.
May not have been a 58-point margin of victory, but I do think that whatever 22 guys you lined up on that field on Monday night, it didn't matter. Georgia's going to win.
Yeah. Looking at the stats, see, man, we talk about time possessions, not always a applicable stat or anything, but man, 37 minutes to 23 minutes time possession. Georgia just killed it. A lot of 3 and outs with TCU. A lot of 3 and outs. Total yards 589 to 188. Georgia outgained them by over 400 yards. Just in a championship game, that's just unheard of. 335 yards passing for Georgia to 152 for Max Duggan. 254 yards rushing to 36. That's right there. It tells you what Georgia's all about, man. They're gonna run. If they want to run the ball, they're gonna run the ball, and you're not gonna run it on them. I don't care who you are. 32 first downs to 9. I think that, what did I hear a stat? I think I told you guys the other day. It was something about TCU had, was it more plays? Oh, Georgia had more plays over 20 yards than TCU had first downs or something. I don't know, something crazy like that. 3 turnovers for Georgia, 5 sacks, and it was just lopsided. It's very lopsided. I think that's really all when you talk about that. Great.
I think it's something crazy that happened in the national championship game was Georgia scored on every single possession except one.
That's what it was. Georgia scored a touchdown. That's right. Georgia scored a touchdown on as many possessions as TCU had first downs. That's what it was.
That happened in the game.
In the first half, what happened?
Ken said in the first. Go ahead, Ken.
In the first half, Georgia scored as many points as they had downs.
Yeah,
I believe.
yeah. That is incredible too. They and of course they tied records for the most points in the first half. Tied a record for the most points in the championship game. Tied a record for the most points in a bowl game, if that's considered a bowl game. I guess it would be. So anyway, I think that's enough about that. Georgia played a great game. They're two-time defending national champions. We're happy about that. Some of the guys out in the audience may not be if you're a Florida fan or Auburn or Alabama or somebody else, but that's just tough luck. So we're going to take a break here in a minute. You listen to the XL Sports Network, College Football Drive at 5, brought to you by the Steakhouse in Hawkinsville every Sunday as Thanksgiving. We're live in the David Venable Studios. We'll be back in about 2.5 minutes. Y'all stay tuned.
50 years ago, Jack and Claudia Fowler started the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville. And for the last 33 years, their son, Lewis Fowler, has continued the proud tradition of providing Middle Georgians with the best Southern food around. Join Lewis in 2022 for the 50th anniversary and enjoy the daily specials, or the daily lunch buffet, the super Sunday buffet after church, or the special Thursday night buffet. For the best steaks and the best fried chicken in Georgia, go to the Steakhouse Restaurant on the Highway 341 bypass in Hawkinsville.
One of the most important words you can use is the word no. No, I won't take your drug test. No, I won't have anything to tell you, officer. No, I don't carry the balance on one leg because I've heard it could hurt my legal defense. Hi, I'm Attorney David Venable. If the boys in blue have you detained, the best time to call a lawyer is ASAP.
He's the big city lawyer with small town charm. David Venable, attorney at law. Call 478-783-2825.
The answer to your insurance needs is simple. The Grimsley Agency. No matter your needs, life, auto, or home, it's the Grimsley Agency. You can trust Danny Grimsley and his staff with great coverage for your whole family. New car or home, the answer is the same. The Grimsley Agency. Give them a call at 783-2581 or see them at 203 Commerce Street, Hawkinsville. Proud supporters of all Red Devil Athletics.